Welcome to the Language Institute's Department of Context. We're here to uncover how words can shape worlds. Today, we're diving into Beowulf, a tale that's been passed down for over 1,000 years. It's a story that's been told and retold across centuries, each time adding a new layer of influence. Our mission: uncover how the values of different cultures influenced the portrayal of characters in Beowulf. Let's get started.
Wet, we gardena in dagum, theod kinninga thrim yefrunen.
Yikes, what's that? I think we'll need to use this translation machine to understand. Oh, that's Old English. Straight from the perspective of the person who first wrote this story down. But unless you're fluent in a 1,000-year-old language, this won't help much. Let's try another setting. How about Goat Translator? Well, that's one way to interpret a battle between good and evil, but not quite what we need. Maybe Warrior Translator? Now we're getting somewhere. Heroic warriors battling against the enemy. Exciting! But even this isn't the full story. Let's try one more. Modern Author Translator. Finally, a readable version! But remember, this story carries the weight of all those previous versions, each shaping it into what we know today. Well, maybe not the goat's version, but you get the idea. To tackle today's mission, we'll uncover how the values of those who told the tale influenced the way the characters are portrayed. Why does it matter? Because understanding how authors' influences shape their stories empower us to use our words to influence our world. We know our mission, but before we begin, let's establish some context. Access your guided notes in the lesson materials, and we'll get started. Take it all the way back to where the tale of Beowulf began. The oral tradition of early Germanic tribes during the 5th and 6th centuries. These communities, rooted in a pagan, pre-Christian culture, lived among constant threats, including harsh climates, territorial conflicts, and limited resources. Their stories reflected their values of strength, bravery, and protection. The tale of Beowulf wasn't just entertainment. It was a way to pass down the values that were crucial for surviving and sustaining their way of life. Fast forward several hundred years to when Christian monks in England decided to write the story down sometime during the 8th to 10th centuries. They took the original pagan tale, but added their own twist, reshaping the story according to Christian values of faith and divine intervention. The fight between the hero and villain was no longer just about survival. It was a battle between God's chosen hero and the forces of evil. So when we read Beowulf today, we're not just reading a story. We're getting a glimpse into the minds of literary influencers from different cultures over time, from the pagan warriors who first told the story to the Christian scribes who wrote it down. Now let's meet the villain of this tale. As I read, listen closely for words or phrases used to describe this monster named Grendel. The monster stirred, that demon, that fiend, Grendel, who haunted the moors, and made his home in a hell, not hell, but earth. He was spawned in that slime, conceived by a pair of those monsters born of Cain, murderous creatures banished by God, punished forever for the crime of Abel's death. What specific words or phrases stand out to you? Pause the video to make note of anything that catches your attention. Looking back at the descriptions you noticed, what do you think they tell us about Grendel? He's not some silly monster. Words like demon and fiend suggest something far more sinister. He's described as living in a hell on earth, which paints a picture of him as a creature tied to evil and chaos. Take a moment to think about why these specific words might have been used. If this villain embodies a culture's biggest fears, what does that tell us about the values of that culture? Pause and add your thoughts to your notes. In the context of the early Germanic tribes, these descriptions represent the chaotic forces that threatened their communities, highlighting their value on strength, bravery, and the protection of the community. The need to believe in heroes who could confront and conquer such evil was central to their worldview. But let's dig a little deeper. The story describes Grendel as being born of Cain and banished by God. Why might these references be important? In the Christian Bible, Cain became infamous for committing the first murder by killing his brother Abel out of jealousy. As a result, Cain was cursed and banished by God, marking him and his descendants as outcasts and symbols of sin. When the monks added this reference to Cain, they were transforming him into a symbol of sin and divine punishment, something cursed by God. So take a moment to think about this. How do the concepts of sin and divine punishment impact the portrayal of Grendel? And what does this tell us about how the values embedded in the story might have changed over time? Pause the video to make notes of your thinking. Originally, Grendel might have been seen by the Germanic tribes as a force of chaos and fear in a dangerous world. But the monks turned him into the embodiment of evil, a representation of God's punishment. This shift isn't just about religion. It's about how stories evolve to reflect the values and beliefs of the people who tell them. In this case, it's the difference between seeing Grendel as a fearsome monster and as a warning against sin. Both perspectives shape how we understand this character today. Now let's turn our attention to Beowulf, our hero. As I read, pay close attention to how Beowulf is described. What traits stand out, and what do they tell us about how each culture viewed their heroes? That I, alone and with the help of my men, may purge all evil from this hall. I have heard too that the monster's scorn of men is so great that he needs no weapons and fears none. Nor will I. My hands alone shall fight for me, struggle for life against the monster. God must decide who will be given to death's cold grip. Whoa! Beowulf sounds pretty awesome, huh? What does this passage reveal about Beowulf's character traits? And what does this tell us about how each culture viewed their heroes? Pause the video to jot down some notes. So he's ready to purge all evil and fight Grendel with his hands, without weapons. This highlights his bravery and strength, traits that were highly valued by Germanic tribes. By choosing to fight without weapons, Beowulf shows he trusts in his own abilities, reflecting the importance of personal strength. But did you notice the line, God must decide who will be given to death's cold grip? This introduces a Christian perspective. How do you think this focus on God's will might change the way we view Beowulf's heroism? Take a moment to consider what this reveals about the role of divine intervention in the story. This emphasis on God deciding the outcome shows that, despite Beowulf's strength, the final decision isn't in his hands. It's in God's. Do you think this was part of the original pagan story? Nope. The monks added this layer because they viewed heroism as being a result of divine will and faith. So, Beowulf isn't just a hero by pagan standards. Through the influence of the authors, he has become an ideal Christian hero, embodying both the physical strength and spiritual faith valued in both cultures. Every story carries the weight of its influences. Keep this in mind as you continue reading Beowulf, and think about how the historical and cultural influences shape the characters and themes. Before we wrap up, let's preview what's ahead. In your lesson materials, you'll dive deeper into the story of Beowulf, and then complete your online practice each day to help support your understanding of this epically influential text. And remember, as you read, think about the influence you want to make in the world, because every story, including yours, has the power to shape the future.
Hey, hey!